Friedrich Nietzsche believed most people aren't weak because of circumstance. They're weak because of fear. Not the fear of danger, but the fear of becoming who they're meant to be. He saw that deep inside every so-called civilized person, there's a coward, hiding behind politeness, behind conformity, behind the illusion of moral superiority. And unless that coward is confronted, it will quietly destroy your potential. This is not a message of comfort. Nietzsche didn't believe in comfort. He believed in confrontation. And if you're looking to escape mediocrity, to break out of the soft cage society hands you, hit subscribe. Because what follows is not gentle advice. It's a challenge. Nietzsche's harshest lesson is this: your fear of discomfort is your leash. You say you want strength, power, freedom. But when life offers you the chance to build those things through pain, through loss, through risk, you flinch, you retreat, you rationalize. And every time you do, the coward inside you wins. The coward is not loud, it's not theatrical, it's quiet, logical, reasonable. It tells you to play it safe, to keep your head down, to wait for the right time. But Nietzsche knew, the right time never comes. What comes is decay, atrophy, a slow death of everything in you that wanted to be alive. And here's the truth: you can't think your way into courage. You can only act your way through fear. That's how you begin to destroy the coward, not with words, but with movement, not with dreams, but with decision. The coward inside you doesn't scream. It whispers. It's subtle. It speaks in your own voice, borrowing your logic, your insecurities, your worst-case scenarios. It tells you you're being smart when you delay. It tells you you're being mature when you back down. It calls your hesitation wisdom. It disguises fear as strategy. And because it sounds like you believe it. You justify it. You let it lead. Nietzsche saw this not as a flaw, but as a consequence of avoiding responsibility for your own power. He didn't say you lack strength. He said you lack will. And will to him was everything. He wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But most people never find their why. Why? Because they never confront the how. The pain, the failure, the unknown. Most people don't build strength. They build systems to avoid discomfort. But the path to real power isn't paved. It's chaotic. It's violent. It demands confrontation. The modern world teaches you to soothe fear, manage it, talk about it endlessly. Nietzsche would have said, "Stop talking, act." Most people try to negotiate with fear. They try to outthink it, outmaneuver it, intellectualize it. But fear doesn't care about your cleverness. It doesn't respond to logic. It bows only to action. And until you face it directly, publicly, consistently, it owns you. You will serve it while believing you're protecting yourself. So what does the destruction of the inner coward actually look like? It's not cinematic. It's not always brave in the way movies portray. It's gritty, uncomfortable, quiet. It looks like making the phone call you're dreading, starting the thing you keep postponing, saying what you actually think instead of what's expected, showing up when no one is clapping for you, speaking when your mind tells you to stay silent, choosing risk when safety feels easier, and most importantly, doing it again tomorrow. Each act of defiance, each step into discomfort, starves the coward. You remove its power not by shouting it down, but by acting in spite of it. You stop giving it evidence. You stop reinforcing the habit of obedience. And slowly, it loses credibility. It becomes background noise. You won't kill that part of you in one strike, but you'll bleed it out. You'll break its rhythm. You'll expose it as a liar. And that's when courage starts to grow, not as a sudden transformation, but as a brutal, disciplined habit. Not confidence, not motivation, just refusal. Refusal to be ruled by the smallest part of you. That's how Nietzsche wanted you to live, not comfortably, but freely, not safe, but real. The coward inside you doesn't scream. It whispers. It tells you to wait, to compromise, to be patient in the face of things you should be tearing apart. Nietzsche saw this passivity not as harmless, but as corrosive. Because every time you hold back your voice, your instinct, your will, you shrink. And shrinking, over time, becomes your identity. Nietzsche called this the morality of the herd. The idea that society teaches you to value comfort over greatness, obedience over power, humility over courage. But none of these things lead to freedom. They lead to submission. And submission is the soil where the coward thrives. You start convincing yourself that ambition is arrogance, that anger is weakness, that discomfort is failure. But what if Nietzsche was right? What if all those emotions you've been taught to suppress are actually signals? Signals that you're alive, that you're capable, that you're not meant to blend in. The coward doesn't want you to be evil. It just wants you to be small. It wants you to second-guess your instinct. Apologize for your presence. Walk quietly through life so you don't disturb anyone. But greatness doesn't come from politeness. It comes from force, from will, from the refusal to bow to anything that insults your potential. You don't kill the coward by becoming ruthless toward others. You kill it by becoming ruthless toward your own excuses. There's a reason Nietzsche didn't preach safety. He believed the pursuit of comfort was the first step toward spiritual decay. You lose your edge. You lose your instincts. You trade the chaos of becoming for the predictability of surviving. And that's when the coward thrives. When life gets quiet, when routines numb the soul, when fear wears the mask of responsibility. The coward convinces you that ambition is dangerous, that it's better to settle, stay agreeable, avoid the fight. It tells you that peace comes from avoiding conflict. But Nietzsche saw peace as something earned, not gifted. It doesn't come from avoiding battle. It comes from surviving it. And more than that, from choosing it. You want strength? You have to embrace resistance. You have to walk into uncertainty, not once, but daily. Nietzsche called this amor fati, love of fate, not just acceptance of pain, but the willingness to lean into it, to see every challenge as fuel, every failure as training, every fear as an opportunity to kill the coward in real time. Most people want confidence before they act. Nietzsche flips that. Act first. Walk into the arena, then become confident, because the only way to develop courage is to use it. If you wait to feel ready, you'll wait your entire life. And the coward will stay undefeated. Courage doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly in moments where fear expected you to bow. And when you don't, when you take one more step forward, that's when the transformation begins. Not outside, inside. Cowardice doesn't always look like running away. Sometimes it looks like endless preparation, waiting for permission, researching for years, but never starting. Nietzsche saw this as a symptom of spiritual weakness, a refusal to commit. Because commitment means risk. It means stepping into the unknown without a safety net. The modern world praises planning, caution, being measured. But Nietzsche asked, measured by what? By whose standards? Playing it safe often means playing by rules designed to keep you small. The coward tells you it's wise to wait, to gather more confidence, to become more prepared. But confidence doesn't come before the leap. It's forged in free fall. Nietzsche believed in what he called the will to power, not power over others, but power over yourself. Power to become. Power to choose action over paralysis. And the moment you hesitate, that will shrinks. It starves. It starts to rot. You destroy the coward when you stop needing guarantees. When you act not because you're certain, but because doing nothing would mean spiritual death. That's what Nietzsche meant by becoming who you are. Not who you dream of being, but who you choose to be when fear is screaming in your ear and you do it anyway. This isn't self-help, it's self-conquest, and no one is coming to do it for you. The coward in you doesn't fear failure. It fears judgment. It fears looking ridiculous. It fears what people will say when you step outside the role they've assigned you. Nietzsche understood that most people don't live, they perform. And the coward loves this. Because as long as you're performing, you're not risking anything real. You curate your personality. You silence your opinions. You nod when you want to roar. Why? Because deep down, the coward believes safety is better than authenticity. But Nietzsche called that out for what it is: spiritual suffocation. The moment you prioritize social approval over inner truth, you've surrendered your will. You no longer act, you react. You no longer create, you conform. And the coward thrives in that environment, where everything you do is calibrated to avoid disapproval. But there's a price for that safety. And the price is your potential. The part of you that could have built something lasting. The part of you that wanted to speak, to lead, to fight for something more. That part withers while the coward keeps you comfortable. Until you wake up one day and realize that in trying to avoid discomfort, you avoided your own life, avoided your own. The antidote? Start choosing boldness over acceptance, not recklessness, clarity. Speak the truth even when your voice shakes. Do the thing even when you feel unqualified, because every time you step into risk, you take ground away from the coward, and every time you avoid it, you feed the fear that controls you. There's a reason Nietzsche believed most people are followers by nature, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack the will to lead themselves. They'd rather be told what to do than risk doing it wrong. They crave authority, systems, labels, anything that removes the burden of personal responsibility. But Nietzsche's ideal wasn't the obedient citizen. It was the one who breaks ranks, the one who questions every rule, the one who refuses to shrink their life to fit someone else's blueprint. He called this person the Ubermensch, not a superhero, but a self-created being. A person who destroys their inner coward not by pretending to be fearless, but by refusing to be domesticated. You see it everywhere. People stuck in lives they didn't choose, careers they hate, beliefs they inherited, relationships that drain them, and they stay. Because it's easier than facing the unknown, easier than being blamed, easier than becoming the villain in someone else's story. But Nietzsche would say, that's not virtue, that's fear in costume. To destroy the coward inside you, you have to stop needing permission, stop apologizing for wanting more, stop asking others how to live. You weren't born to follow, you were born to decide. And that decision, it's not made once. It's made every time you feel the pull to shrink and choose not to. The coward inside you doesn't fear death. It fears responsibility, responsibility to act, to decide, to fail on your own terms. That's why it clings to structure, to rules, to approval. Because if someone else is in charge, you never have to take the blame. Nietzsche despised this mindset. He believed the fully alive human being, the Ubermensch, is one who creates their own values, their own direction, their own meaning. But you cannot create anything if you're still hiding behind what others expect of you. The coward wants to be told what to do. It wants a checklist. It wants permission. It wants guarantees. But none of those things exist in a real life worth living. Strength is found in stepping into uncertainty with your chest forward and your eyes open. You think you're stuck because of fear. But fear isn't the problem. You'll always feel fear. The problem is your submission to it. The problem is that you obey it without question, that you serve it without realizing you've made it your God. If you want to destroy the coward, you have to stop asking for reassurance. You have to stop waiting for the fear to go away. It won't, but your obedience can. And when it does, something else takes its place. Resolve. Resolve doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you act anyway. And every time you act, the coward dies a little more. The coward doesn't just fear failure. It fears isolation. It fears judgment. It fears being misunderstood. So it chooses the safety of the herd, the comfort of approval, the illusion of peace that comes from never standing out. But Nietzsche believed the herd is where the soul goes to die. He saw conformity not as a path to harmony, but as a slow spiritual death, the dulling of instinct, the erosion of individuality, the betrayal of potential. In the herd, no one questions, no one creates, no one dares. They simply survive. You want to become strong? Stop seeking consensus. Stop asking for permission to be different. Strength, real strength, begins when you choose your path and accept that most people won't understand it, or respect it, or follow you down it, and you stop needing them to. That's when something in you changes. You stop shrinking to fit into places you've outgrown. You stop speaking in tones that make others comfortable but betray your own truth. Every great thinker, every force of will that reshaped the world, philosophers, artists, revolutionaries, they all had to walk through that fire. The fire of being alone, the fire of being ridiculed, the fire of knowing that comfort and greatness do not live on the same street. It's not just about talent or brilliance. It's about the courage to endure rejection, to carry the weight of your own voice when it echoes in empty rooms, to keep going even when the world rolls its eyes at your audacity. The coward wants to be liked. The creator wants to be free. And Nietzsche made it clear, you cannot have both. You must choose. You must sacrifice comfort if you want to awaken the part of you that's been waiting to live without fear. The moment you choose freedom over approval, you become dangerous, because you become unpredictable, uncontrollable, immune to the manipulations of those who depend on your silence. This is not about rebellion for its own sake. It's about conviction, about waking up and realizing that your time is limited, and every compromise you make for the sake of approval is one more piece of your soul that you've sold off cheap. The world doesn't need more agreeable people. It needs individuals willing to be misunderstood for the sake of truth. When you finally decide to stand alone, to speak your truth without a safety net, you will feel terror, but you will also feel power. A power that is rooted in authenticity, in the refusal to play a role written by someone else. That power is the sound of the coward inside you dying, and the real you finally stepping into the light, not to be accepted, but to be free. You don't destroy the coward once. You destroy it daily. Every morning you rise with purpose instead of excuses. Every time you speak the hard truth instead of staying silent. Every time you move forward while your fear screams at you to stop. It's not a grand gesture. It's a repetition. 1,000 small decisions that form a new foundation. Nietzsche never promised a finish line. He never told you that one act of courage would liberate you forever. He warned that strength is earned moment by moment, tested over and over, until it becomes who you are. Not a costume, not a mood, a code, a way of being forged through adversity, not despite it, but because of it. The will to power isn't about dominance over others. It's about mastery of your own weakness. The coward inside you wants you passive, predictable, comfortable. It thrives in the rationalizations you tell yourself. Not now, maybe later. I need more time. But you weren't built for that. Deep down, you know it. That's why you're here. That's why his words still echo a century later. Because the part of you that's been quiet too long is finally ready to wake up. That inner fire, it's not gone. It's buried beneath years of hesitation and compromise. So stop asking for certainty. Stop waiting to feel ready. Burn the script that says you need more time. The time is now. The battlefield is your life. And your only enemy is hesitation. Indecision is decay. Every moment spent doubting is a moment you surrender to the weaker version of yourself. If you walk away from this with anything, let it be this. You don't need to be fearless to act. You need to act in spite of fear. That's how the coward dies. Not by talking, not by thinking, but by being replaced with relentless, deliberate action. Action that isn't showy or loud, but precise. Ruthless in its consistency. Nietzsche's harshest lesson was never about cruelty. It was about freedom. Freedom through fire, through struggle, through becoming something so disciplined, so dangerous, so undeniable, that the world can no longer ignore you. And more importantly, neither can you. Because once you meet the version of yourself that acts without waiting, that moves without begging for permission, you'll never go back. Not because it's easy, but because anything less will feel like betrayal.